And I think I'm live. Hi, I'm the Expert Layman, and I'm playing a little Elite Dangerous right now. Let me make sure that I am being heard. Okay. And I think I'm live. I'll take that as confirmation. Yeah, I kind of got myself in a little situation. I started playing the game again, and I was having... Sorry, I thought I could, Oh, God. Focus. Gotta make sure the right thing is focus. Okay, so I should be able to do this, and then... Oh, well. I played this off and on for a while. And it got... I thought it was really cool. But some of the tedium of, like, launching, and then the tedium of, like, lining things up for Super Cruise, it just... Oh, I probably should have picked up more. It kind of got old. Also, I don't know. The first time I played it, I really wanted to play it, but I was kind of not in the best living situation. And something about the vastness of space, it is a little depressing. When you realize it's just like, the universe is like tiny, infinitesimal amounts of stuff, and then vast expanses of like nothing. Or virtually nothing. So, a little bit like that. But last couple of days I've been getting back into it.
System scan complete. Fuel scooping.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So I signed up. Oh, God damn it. So I wanted to do something different. I've been making some decent money. Basically I made like a fighter, like rich people. I was chauffeur around rich people and criminals. Although I couldn't get the really rich people or the really super criminals because luxury compartments can only go in like 3 different ships, which I have now, but up until I got this. So I was making some pretty good money just like taking VIPs around. And so then I'm like, you know what? I want to... So I got the Dolphin, which is... this thing. It's a luxury cruiser. Can't really fight with it, but it's got like an amazing jump range. Also has that thing I was doing where you can scoop up the fuel. I will say, on this trip, so I want to try something different. And I saw an opportunity to be like, oh, wow, they want to go... Basically, I went back to Seoul, which was, the Earth system. Because I have good reputation there, and I thought I might be able to find somebody who wants to go for a long trip. And I'm like, oh, cool, this person wants to go like thousands of light years. I'm like, well, since I can jump like 25 light years at a time, probably get in like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 jumps in a minute, I could probably do thousands. My math was so bad. So, I noticed after I started, like, how many jumps do I have? And I don't know if you can see it right under where it says contacts. I agreed to take the scientist to this place, very, very far away, and I didn't realize it was going to be 400 jumps to get there. And then I started doing the math. No, you're not getting like 3 jumps a minute. You're getting maybe 2 once you figure in scooping fuel and, other stupid crap. Bad alignments. Stars without fuel. Yeah, you can pick up fuel from most stars, but like white dwarfs and brown dwarfs, like they just aren't emitting that much hydrogen, and they're just not suitable. So I have a fuel tank big enough that I'd have to get like a long string of weird stars to run out of fuel. But it does make it so you don't have to stop at stations, which is really lucky because there are no stations on the way to this place. I have not seen another ship in like, I don't know, 100 jumps. But the cool thing, which I've been working towards, is the galactic plane. It was kind of, there was kind of a hint of it when I first started my journey. And since I'm apparently going towards the center, obviously I'm not going all the way to the center. That would be, you wouldn't attempt that with anything but like the most incredible ship. And this is not that. But it's been getting more and more pronounced as I go. And since I'm heading in the same general direction, every time I go to jump, I have this increasingly, more robust galactic plane in front of me. And there's something, if you don't know about Elite Dangerous, that's very, very cool.
Frame shift drive charging.
This is a slight exaggeration, but it gets you there quicker. Like in most games, the star field in the background, it's just window dressing. It's, it makes it look like you're actually in space and flying around. And it serves its purpose. In Elite Dangerous, if you're just flying around a system and you see a star in the star field, those are all actually there, and you can go to them. And depending how far you are away from, the Earth system, they're real stars. So I realized, I'm going to be doing this for a very, very long time. And I'm not going to be able to work on videos while I'm doing this. How can I be productive?
Fuel scooping.
Well, it's been about a month. Or more since I did a stream, and doing streams is important for developing the set of skills you need to make money on the tube. Did I scan? I can never remember if I scanned. That's the other thing. When you're going through a bunch of areas that nobody's been through, you can take all kinds of instrument data, and then when you get back, you can sell it.
Frame shift drive charging.
Random topics. Well, there's still a lot more about this game. It's very, very, if you want to fly your ship, it has flight assist, and, it has, which is basically what most games do. It's you're not actually controlling the plane. There's kind of I don't know, an intermediary between, your gamepad and all the complicated, thrust motions that have to be done. Most games just cheat it and, make it so that you're not really flying. You're just kind of, pushing in different directions. But in Elite Dangerous, you can literally turn off the flight assist and you just move yourself around with maneuvering thrusters, and it's not easy. And I thought it'd be a cool thing to learn how to do.
Fuel scooping.
Then I realized how much time it would take to figure out how to do it and said, you know what, I'm just going to play the game. But, now that, because I don't know if I just didn't have the stuff or what, because I had the docking computer, and the docking computer is great because when I first started out, oh my God, so many running into other ships and missing the hole in the side of the station and just getting your ship lined up to land on the pad flat. I don't know. I think it was good that I had to do it because now I appreciate the toys so much better. But now you can use the assist for launch, and you can take over at any time. To land and to get around the system, because it used to be you'd aim yourself at where you wanted to go, and you take your best shot at it, but obviously these are literally astronomical systems. So after you've traveled a short distance, it becomes apparent that you weren't quite aimed at the target, which means you got to re-aim again, and it's just a series of re-aiming at the target and trying to figure out where to slow down, because there's a weird thing about the gravity wells. I kind of wish.
Fuel scoop disengaged. Frame shift drive charging.
I was doing something else right now, so I could talk about the way the gravity wells work when you're in Super Cruise. Because, okay, assuming you know nothing about the game, you have your normal space moving around with thrusters. You can
4, 3, 2,
fly around in an atmosphere, or dock with stations, or this is the speed, or go mining, like asteroids and stuff, or when you're, engaging in combat. This is the speed you're doing it in. To actually get anywhere in a system, like a solar system, you use what's called a frameshift drive. The frameshift drive has two different modes.
Fuel scooping.
It has super cruise, which is what you use to tool around the solar system.
Fuel
And it's an interesting system.
frameshift drive charging.
Because you're not really affected by gravity, but you're affected by gravity wells. So your top speed on Super Cruise. Okay, I'm sure there's an actual explanation of this. I'm just going to describe what it seems to me and be wrong where I may.
Engage.
The other way that you use the frameshift drive, and just kind of intuiting from how it seems to work.
Fuel scooping.
Is like right now, charging my frameshift drive, it's locking onto this star in this other system, and it's basically gonna
3.
focus gravity to a pinpoint and pull me through like subspace or hyperspace or whatever. And this is why every time you drop out, you're like face to face with a star, because you're using its gravity to pull you there, which is kind of a cool concept. Ooh, these guys are pretty close together. Man, I've jumped into systems where, like, you don't land right on the star. You land a short distance away from the star. But that short distance away was really close to the other star, and it got dropped out of, like, Super Cruise into normal space and started getting cooked. And then, getting your
Frameshift drive charging.
getting your frameshift drive charging while you're already, like, hot is problematic.
To engage.
But think about the gravity wells in Super Cruise.
1.
They limit your top speed, and you seem to be able to get, if you're like, it seems like you're trying to. It takes a while to speed up as you're leaving a star, but if you get up to that speed from when you're away from a star, and then you decide to like go down to minimum speed, you can get right back up to that speed right away. So it's not not a momentum issue. It's more like running through sand. If you get too close to the stars, you'll drop out and have that fun situation I described earlier. So as you get away from the gravitational bodies, and they seem to follow like the inverse square rule as far as how it drops off over distance. But yeah, your top speed is limited by the gravity well you're in and how close you are to it. But there's some quirky things with it.
3. 2.
If you are entering if you are over a certain speed and that speed aligns with a certain slope of that gravity well, if your speed is over a certain amount, you will no longer be able to slow down. You can still change your trajectory a little bit, but like when you're traveling at that speed, it's not like a lot. Yeah, I can go one more.
Frameshift drive charging.
So, like, you'll be shooting for the station, but if you don't slow down in time, which you'll just either blast right by it or, like I did earlier today, drop almost inside the station and get your hull knocked down to 50% as you bounce around the freaking superstructure on the outside of it. So yeah, it's almost like riding a slope down to it. So there seems to be some like, strategies you can engage in. And the Super Cruise is nice, but they designed it well. Like, it works, but you can do it better if you're not lazy. And sometimes you're lazy, and sometimes you're not. It's like low effort. I don't know. But it is a fun game. And the combat's pretty cool, too. But a lot of times it just ends up being like, who's got the tighter turning radius? Well, they get to shoot now, you know?
Frameshift drive charging.
Yeah, I try not to look at how many jumps I have left. I think it's a carryover skill from being at work and knowing better than to look at the clock.
Ready to engage. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, I'll take a look when we get out. I'm not saying I'm streaming until I get to the target, and I'm definitely not streaming until I get back to Earth. But I can like myself a little bit more, or hate myself a little less, depending on how pessimistic I might be in the particular moment. If I can get a stream off. And it's a new game. And I didn't even do an intro. I was literally playing the game and like went through and set up the stream while I was just in Super Cruise. I'm going to fill up a little bit more. I'm paranoid about getting that sequence of star or a chain of stars that you can't get any fuel from.
Frameshift drive charging.
So this stellar cartography data that I'm going to be bringing back I might make more off that than I think it's 20 million credits I'm getting paid, which is not nearly anywhere near enough for what I'm doing. But it's probably balanced on people who make those crazy ships that can make like 50 or 100 light year jumps. But you got to go get specially engineered stuff, and you got to get reputation with the people to get certain things, and then take it to the certain places where they can do special. And it's like, it's a good thing for a game to be like, if somebody really, really wants it that bad, that, you know, they can do it.
Fuel scooping.
So it seems like it actually gives you more if you turn over, but I don't know.
Fuel scooping complete. Frameshift drive charging.
Oh, hey, Joker. Sorry, I don't get many chat visitors. I'm usually just streaming to get better at streaming. I'm not actually here for to be viewed. Should have a disclaimer at the beginning. Should not be viewed by anybody.
3, 2, 1. Engage.
It would probably, you know, if I wanted viewers, I wouldn't be on at like, 1 in the morning. No, it's like anything else. You got to do it a bunch to get better, and you got to commit to sucking for quite a while. And you don't get to decide when you don't suck anymore. That's for other people to inform you of.
Fuel scooping.
This is a fun game, though, and I would really recommend it. And they've had a couple of expansions,
Frameshift drive.
and they had one come out recently that looks really cool, where like you actually get out of your craft. You can like walk around the inside of your craft, and they have missions, on foot. Although, the combat looks a little bit lame. At least it's something you can do now.
4, 3,
Oh, went a little hot on that one.
1. Engage.
The Dolphin seems to run pretty cool. Seems like there's a joke in there. It's okay. I'm gonna look. Oh. $231 to go. Come on.
Frameshift drive charging.
So yeah, this is a little tedious.
Ready to engage.
I don't know. I figured I'd have some. I don't know anything else with Elite Dangerous. One cool thing it has is you can like play with your friends. Oops,
4,
in a wing,
2,
and it's a little awkward to get used to. But I think it was mostly because we tried it like once and said this is stupid. But I think I think it would probably work pretty well if like you actually put some effort into it. But you can also have like more than one person on a ship. You can have one guy flying it and one guy running the guns, or they have like fighter bays, and you can launch the fighter. Hire a pilot
fuel scoop.
and like launch an AI pilot to go fight stuff on your behalf. And with larger ships, like it can be helpful. But it doesn't have to be an AI. If you're playing with your friend, they can just like pop in and run your fighter. Or if you trust them, let them fly your big expensive ship, that's big enough to have a fighter bay.
Frameshift drive charging.
Also, they didn't originally have planetary landings. They got that, and it's kind of like a much more complete version of
Ready to engage.
No Man's Sky. Because No Man's Sky, when you play it, it kind of feels a little Elite Dangerous-y, but it also feels like all the corners are padded and everything's fluffy, and you're waiting for some, I don't know, pink character to come out and start telling you about stuff. Like, it's not, I don't know, it's not gritty at all, and it's really not realistic, and the way everything moves is, I don't know. Not that I'm like big on the grit. I like the realism, and I think Elite Dangerous' problem might have been that it was too realistic. Like, it's like, oh, turns out flying around, being a smuggler, isn't as fun as it it looked when Han Solo was doing it.
Drive charging.
Although that is kind of funny. You can do all kinds of stuff. Like a lot of times I'm smuggling people. Like I go to pick someone up and it says maybe wanted in other systems, which almost always means they're wanted in the system that you're trying to bring them to.
3,
And if you get scanned by like one of the factions for which that person is wanted, and if that faction happens to be the faction guarding the station, and they scan you on your way in, they will attack you. And the station might attack you too. It's a little weird, the politics of that, because so your best way to avoid, how am I not scooping? Okay.
fuel scooping.
The best way to avoid that is to drop out of Super Cruise right in front and just go like a bullet right in the front of the thing, just trying to making sure to get your landing access granted before you do so, or they will kill you. But just try to get in through that door, and as you're going through, you'll see that you're being scanned, and it's like, come on, get through. So that's kind of fun.
Fuel scooping complete. Frameshift drive charging.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed. It appears they changed something in the game, or I'm remembering something wrong. Because I could have sworn you had the option to
Engage.
eject your passengers. But that might have been just like, if you want to make money, and one of the best ways to make money in this game, and I used this early when I was playing, is, slavery's a pretty big thing in the universe. Just taking other people and making them do your stuff for you. Apparently pretty common. I don't know what I'm doing here.
Frameshift drive charging.
So, that was big money. And I think you could, since they were, and I'm sorry, considered cargo rather than passengers, I think that's where I got the idea that you could eject your passengers.
3, 2,
Um,
1. Engage.
But it's kind of fun, you know. Sometimes like, especially when I picked up a rich criminal the other day, and usually, you know, they'll ask for stuff along the way. It'll be like, you'll be almost to the station that they asked you to. Pretty. You'll be almost to the station
Fuel scooping.
that they asked you to bring them to, and they'll be like, "Oh wait, can I go somewhere else?" It's so annoying. And then they'll be like, they'll be paying you like $500,000 for the trip, and they'll be like, "Oh hey, can you leave the system that you just dropped into, the one I wanted you to go to, and go to this completely other system, and I'll give you 10,000 more if you do it." And it's like, you're paying me $500,000 and it's almost done. Why would I do that? But then sometimes it's interesting because,
Frameshift drive charging.
like this one, I think he was basically like a mob boss or something, and because when he'd ask you to like make detours, he's like the classic mob guy, just like pulling out a wad of cash and being like, "Make it happen." Well, I think I picked him up for only like a $500,000 run, and then he's like, "Oh hey, I want to see how my boys are doing over in this system. They're fighting, and I'll give you another 100 grand to go over there." And it's like, 100, okay. I haven't even left the starting system yet. Yeah, sure. And I get over there.
Fuel
Ooh.
scooping.
Gotta be careful. And he's like, "Oh, cool, okay. Hey, there's this how is it? Like religious pilgrimage site or something or whatever? I don't know. It was still fitting with the mob thing. Like, you know, if it was the mob, it'd be like some kind of Catholic shrine, but it was something else. And he's like, "Hey, I always wanted to see that. I'll give you another 150 grand to go there." And it's like, I'd never seen a passenger like actually offer decent money to go do stuff. Like, okay, I'll go do that. And get in that system and run over there. It's like,
Fuel scoop.
"Oh, hey, some guys are looking for me. Take care of them." And sure enough, I get interdicted. Yeah, you can interdict.
Frameshift drive charging.
You can interdict people in Super Cruise. It's a little complicated, but I think it's a pretty good system. So, you know, you can try to evade it or you can submit to it. Or everybody's like, "Hey, he wanted me to take these guys out."
4,
And usually
2,
the difficulty of whatever attacks you when you're on one of those missions is a couple combat levels below whatever, I don't know, whatever the level of the passenger mission is. So usually, you know, if something's attacking you, pretty much always kick its butt, which I did. And then he was happy about that and paid me extra for that. And then there was one more detour. I don't even remember what it was. You know what? I think I'm going to stock up a little.
fuel scooping.
I don't know if that line is the line where you get like bumped into normal space. I still have a lot to learn.
Frameshift drive.
This thing stays so cool. Like, I did one of these, it wasn't nearly this long. It wasn't anywhere near this long. But I did, was the scan going to go off before I jump? Yeah!
4, 3, 2,
Lost my train of thought.
1. Engage.
It happens. Yeah, I'm running the, what do they call it? The ultra wide screen.
Fuel.
Because the game doesn't support, like, custom resolutions very well. And I am able to stretch it out more, but when I finally figured out how to make that work, it was ridiculously resource intensive. Like
Fuel scooping complete.
I run
Charging.
Rocket League and WoW Classic, 16:3, which is, three 16:9 screens side to side.
Ready to engage.
Oops. And usually it's just like a linear increase in the amount of resources required to do the extra area. But for some reason, in Elite Dangerous, it draws more than it should. Also, for some reason, at when you're inside the bases, like the resources go up tremendously. Even if you're just looking around on menus, it's like I'll be using like 15, maybe 20% of my GPU as I'm like tooling around like this.
Fuel scooping.
And I'd get in there and it'd be like 50, 60. It's kind of ridiculous. I typically don't overtax my card. Like I always, if I'm going to play a game, I want to be able to stream that game.
Fuel scoop disengaged. Frame shift drive
So
charging.
I don't want to use more than, well, I don't really want to go over half, but like kind of my hard line is 60%. Because it just seems to make everything else go smoother when you're not pegging any of your hardware and giving it plenty of room to breathe.
4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
30 minutes in. There was something I was thinking about talking about, but it's probably a little too spicy for my channel. Kind of... the shorts. Oh, there was a thing I wanted to talk about. And I thought about a bunch of different ways I could do the video, and could I make it into a grinding meaning stream, but maybe I'll just do it here. The title was going to be
Fuel scooping.
Video Enhancement and Mixing Gravy. Yes, mixing gravy. Gravy mixes.
Engaged. Frame shift drive charging.
I'm a strange person in some ways. Like, I don't like working from a recipe or a script. I like to work intuitively whenever possible. So a lot of things where it's like it would be so simple just to follow whatever procedure that works and just get through it and be done with it, and that's just the way you do it. I have this notion of like, let me try to do it without the assumed assistance that comes with the endeavor, like with the gravy mix.
Fuel scooping.
People always use the packets. It's very difficult to find. Like if you're in even if you're in a really nice kitchen, maybe even a restaurant, sometimes they'll just have the packets of gravy rather than like a larger container. Although, restaurants will use the larger containers too. Because the mix of gravy
Fuel scoop
mixed to water is extremely picky.
shift drive charging.
It's a very fine line between gravy water and gravy pudding. So reasonable, normal people don't mess around with it. They measure out the water into the saucepan, and they know that amount of water goes with 1
2.
packet of gravy, and everybody just moves on with their life. I can't be I want to be able to do it. I want to be able to eyeball it. I want to be able to like look at the amount of water in the pan, and then just like pour gravy from this kitchen, industrial sized, because I switched over from turned out I have a big problem with like factory grains, and I don't want to put a name on it. I think I might have to get too close to the star to get good numbers, so I
Engaged.
guess I should try to make sure
Frame
to
shift drive charging.
fill up. But I want to be able to eyeball it. I want to, because once I can figure that out, then I like have this skill that like other people don't, and I can do things other people can't, which the hierarchy of abilities, I could eyeball gravy mix. It's really not much, but it's really emblematic of the way I like to figure things out. And I was saying, I went to eating, a lot more beef and chicken rather than, wheat, corn, and just like processed foods in general.
Fuel scooping.
Massive health benefits I'm not going to go into, mostly because well, a reasonable person wouldn't believe how much I benefited from the change. And I don't want to be one of those people. You know what I'm talking about. But, you know, there's only so many ways to have beef without putting a lot of other stuff on it. So, you know, gravy is one way to get the beef down. Okay, that seems like a euphemism.
Drive charging.
I like to make gourmet Salisbury steak. You know, I was a lazy microwave chef, you know, most of my life. I'm getting a notification from YouTube about something or other.
3, 2, 1. Engage.
Oh, it's just saying, hey, your bit rate's kind of high. It's like, hey, that seems like and that doesn't seem like a freaking expert layman problem. That seems like a YouTube problem. I have God internet. I got gigabit internet. So, yeah,
Scooping.
so I mixed a lot of gravy. And I'm like, I don't like buying the packets because I'd been shifting to buying more and more off of Amazon and having stuff delivered, getting the beef delivered, getting the chicken delivered. Hey, this week I got North Atlantic, it's not free range, what would you call it? Wild caught cod. I feel like I almost made a mistake there. Fish delivered. And freaking gourmet Salisbury steak. I love it so much. Because, like, I was just a microwave chef forever, and I actually started cooking for myself.
Complete.
And I found myself trying to make, you know, gourmet versions of the crappy things I used to eat. But then I found new stuff, like things that should exist that shouldn't. I make bacon fried rice. Bacon fried rice. So that's like bacon, which, you know, you got to fry it up like real bacon and then add it. But it helps to kind of fry it up with onions and saute them together to keep the, let it get a little crisp, but not, okay, you know, this is not the food show. At any rate, bacon fried rice is amazing. And put a little, like, you know, chicken with some Kung Pao sauce on it. On top of that, it's just heavenly. Now I'm hungry. Why would I do that to myself? Anyway, it took probably a year and many failed attempts to get it down. And, you know, there's a way of learning things where, like, you need to do it a bunch and you need to be invested. How do you get invested? Well, you know, there needs to be consequences. And gravy pudding or gravy water kind of sucks because usually the gravy is the last thing you make. And if I screw it up, then I have to make it again. And all the rest of the food's already ready to go. And now I'm waiting on this. So it's a little, I know I can't believe I spent this much time talking about gravy, but that's a really good, you know, analogy for my video enhancement. You know, because everybody's gone into Paint and just kind of played around with the sliders and said, woohoo, cool. But, like, what if you did that, except you started with, organic isn't the right word, but I think it gets people closer. God damn it.
Frameshift drive charging.
Since my animations are organically derived, you know, by something happening in the physical world, you know, I'm using old and new electronics to generate it, but part of that feedback loop exists in physical reality, and it's almost like it kind of picks up that quality, making things seem more fluid, and the motion feels like it has more agency than animations typically do, of the abstract variety, of course.
Fuel scooping.
Oh God, I need to pick a number. Okay, I'm gonna go 16 more jumps and then I'm killing the stream.
Fuel scoop.
But I have to finish talking about the video enhancement. Like, if you played around with Paint, you can do some cool stuff, but then you kind of hit a limit. But since what I'm working with is derived from nature, and it's not like an individual frame. Like, oh my God, am I going to get into nature of existence stuff? Like, things don't exist. The difference between things exist. And the difference between a thing from one moment to the next, like, it's not a series of existing still things. The existence is in the motion and in its difference from other things. Okay, that was ugly. But it's kind of a philosophy I noticed, like, when I'm enhancing the videos. It's not like the individual frame that I'm enhancing. Every pixel isn't just an independent source of information. It's affected by all the pixels around it. It's all, I hate to use the word relative, but they're affected. And when the loop is generated, like, there's basically a sum-zero system happening on the screen. You don't really notice it, but there will be a roughly equal number of red, blue, and green active pixels at pretty much any time while you're generating a loop. But the red might be over here, the green would be over here, the blue would be over here. You might even get some secondary colors mixing together. And when you have all of them, you have white, and when you have none of them, you have black. And that's, but you'll see it especially when I'm using all digital hardware. You'll see it'll even split it into like a red-green spinning orb as the colors kind of push away from each other or back into each other, depending on stuff I don't have words for. But just playing around with a system until you get an intuitive understanding of it is something I learned in printing. Offset web printing. The big printing presses did newspapers and catalogs and like magazine stuff and a lot of softcover textbooks, like workbooks. But those systems are incredibly complicated, and there's a lot of things you don't have the intellectual capacity to get your mind around what's happening. But if you engage with it enough times, you'll unconsciously start to pick up patterns of actions with results. And before you could possibly articulate how it is that what you're doing is working, you can make it work. You can't consciously conceive it, but you can make it happen. And people capable of that type of thinking tended to, rise to the head pressman position, which I eventually did. I'm a slow learner, but when I finally catch up, look out. I'm that car that nobody drives in the old like NASCAR, like PlayStation games where, it's got the awesome top speed, but its acceleration and turning is so bad. It's like nobody uses it, but life isn't a circuit. It's a straightaway. So just give me time. This stupid challenge. I wonder how much time I have to complete it. I think I've been avoiding looking at that because if I see a big number, it's gonna freaking put the kibosh on my motivation. So like, it's probably best I don't know how long I have to complete this, because if I see like 2 days, I'm like, I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore. But to get back on the video enhancement, like I start off with like just like kind of this raw, fairly garbled, crap generated by the video feedback. Like you've seen a lot of that stuff before. I mean, maybe you haven't, but if you look on YouTube, you got tons of videos with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views, and it's just somebody who they have a YouTube channel where they do something else, and just on this one occasion they happen to point a camera to TV, said, "Hey, that's pretty neat," and they put it up. If you look at like the raw stuff, it's really it's really not that impressive. It's kind of like a novelty, but it's not like particularly cool looking or meaningful. And to be honest, I've been so excited lately. Watching the split that I've been predicting for years. When I first started making analog video feedback loop videos, there's a weird redundancy in that.
4, 3, 2.
I work at a plant with hundreds of people, so I'd get some feedback on stuff. And the one that I was using at the time was the dubstep mind control, and that one is a trip, and There's just dumb, stupid chance that so much of that segment of the song just lined up so well with what was going on. And that kind of set me down a path of, you know, I would watch, I'm just kind of like intuitively getting things lined up. Like it's all, well, it exists in intuition, and there's the galactic plane again. It exists in intuition, but if I can do it consistently, even if I don't understand it, I can observe how I'm doing it and eventually reverse engineer it in such a way that I can kind of explain how I'm doing individual things. But like there's a big curve. It's like there's like the 80% I can do, and like trailing behind is like a 15 or 20% I can sort of explain. But the most important thing is being able to do it, you know. Would you rather be able to do a thing or explain a thing, you know? Well, doing the thing would seem to have a lot more practical value. That's kind of been my idea of like, you know, we call it the my extended development path. Which is, I suppose, a nice way of saying super slow learner who took decades to catch up to everybody else in the social comprehension game. I don't know. I was working to a point and got stuck on self-deprecation. Which really sucks, because it's like, usually I'm only doing that because I'm like, I really like myself, but like, when you're a little too successful, it turns you into an asshole. So, to maximally like myself, I also have to have fun at my expense whenever possible and not take myself too seriously. But probably not the greatest thing to do if you're trying to do like YouTube stuff, because, you know, introspection and, you know, not being, you know, like, hey, welcome to YouTube. Oh, I'm doing Elite Dangerous today. We're going to be going from star to star. It's going to be the amazing thing. Stick around. You know, like, I'm not that, and I'll never be that. I'm not like, pay attention to me, because it, you know, I don't know. It's like, I don't want to diss other people doing it differently, because, like, I don't want them to diss me for the way I do it. I'm not going to diss them for the way they do it. But there's certain things that just make me feel dirty, and I don't want to do them. And that'd be a lot of the self-promotion, and I don't know. There is a certain amount of, you need to present yourself as the center of attention. Like, and it's not that I don't think I can be that. I'm not sure I want to be that. It was a funny thing, you know, occupying the bottom rungs of like whatever social hierarchies I engaged with, and, you know, being at or near the bottom, you know, and then slowly rising up over time. You kind of get a appreciation for how stratified the social hierarchy is. Oh, shoot. So everything leads to like bigger stuff. I don't know. I might bail before I hit the... Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go 10 more jumps. Okay, you know, I will do the 10 more jumps. I'll just try to do it quickly. I guess my point with the gravy was, and this is why I hadn't done any video on it yet, because I hadn't worked it through sufficiently, is that if there's a system you can engage with where there's like a set procedure, but there's an opportunity to figure out how to do it unconsciously, you're going to have that the rest of your life. And that... and every one of those things you do will help you develop new ones, so it doesn't take as long. Like, I'm at the point now where it doesn't take nearly as long for me to get someplace, because the thing is, things are always like other things. You know, there aren't that many things that are actually unique and can't, like, almost everything is, I don't know, there's just not, there isn't as much novelty to the way systems manifest as, like, we think. So everything, I don't know, maybe it's a product of getting older. or just, having an open mind for so long. It's just so many things are like other things that there aren't that many actually original things around. And you especially start noticing that with music, and you start like, it's so hard to keep liking music because a big part of what music is it is the theme music for your development as a human being. The things that the music, the memories that's associated with, the feelings, who you were, events. That's why you just can't really appreciate music the same way you did when you were younger. You just can't appreciate anything to the same level because, like, as you get older, you get better at filtering out what's relevant in the environment and what isn't. And you become like more efficient and more wise, but you're technically seeing less and less of the world. I should pick up some more fuel. I do like being able to get out of the... Can you actually see the fuel scoop? Is there a fuel scoop? Is that it? I don't know. I think that's it. I don't know. Doesn't seem to be doing much scooping.
Frameshift drive charging.
God, I love getting to start my super cruise even before I'm out of the scooping. So yeah, definitely highly recommend this game. It is a bit resource intensive at the bases, but you don't really... It's not a game that rests on how cool it looks. It does help. But after a while, graphics in a game is kind of like having a really attractive partner. After a certain amount of time, it matters a lot less how they look.
Drive charging.
Like there are immersive qualities in games that have nothing to do with the graphics. And that's kind of like the Super Cruise assist
2, 1.
and what do you call it? Takeoff assist. Like in a real world where you're really like shipping stuff around and you're going from station to station, nobody would be flying them their ships on their own. No station would take the risk of letting idiots like smash into stuff. They would like totally require like, oh no, you're going to let us automate this.
Fuel scooping.
So it makes a lot of sense why you would have like automated systems, because people wouldn't tolerate it. It's like, it's too tedious. I'm also getting everything ready for streaming on a completely different topic.
Complete.
Getting everything ready for streaming
Frameshift drive charging.
all 59, 58 animations I did for the Doom Eternal soundtrack in sequence. But that'll be very different from this
4,
because I don't really have to talk.
1. Engage.
Hey, what's up, Slayer? That's a good place to be. But there's actually 4 Fs in that, but I'll skip the last F. It's YouTube. Yeah, I'm not going to be on much longer here. Oh, for the animation stuff, it's actually the video feedback effect. I've got a few different cameras and a bunch of different TVs, and I pointed at the TVs and spend hours doing it, and then out of those hours there are minutes of cool effects, and then I use those. But as I get better at extracting the effects, there's essentially more and more usable footage available because I'm getting better at it. Basically, I'm getting better at extracting stuff from my footage faster than I'm consuming the footage, the usable footage. So I haven't actually shot any new loop footage in like probably 6 months. I'm just working off the hours of stuff I already have. But like I was talking about earlier in the stream, how I enhance it. It goes through multiple iterations, and I'll just clean it up, and then I'll try to like enhance it in a particular direction, smooth up the motion, increase the resolution, put in a gradient, maybe some texture, make a few different variations of effects. Like I have like a few different ways I want to go, and I'll just try all three, and then bring them back together and blend them. Like it's something. Well, it's pseudo digital. I mean, to say that it's not digital would be inaccurate. It's digital, but not computer generated. Oh, I should be reading what he's saying. Slayer in the chat was asking, what software do you use? And I was just, giving that answer. And he's like, that's insane. What a way to create a digital effect. And I was saying, everything you're looking at is digital at this point. It's just how it was made is what's probably more relevant, at least for me. And since the effects are extrapolations of nature, I'm seeing a split in the audience that I'd predicted based on polling coworkers, and that a sliver of the population will become so fixated on it that they didn't want to give my phone back until the screen turned black. And there was a small number of people who thought it was pretty cool, but most people looked at it and said, I don't get it. And another sliver of the population were just overtly offended by it. Like something about it just triggered like a disgust reflex in them. Like, oh, what is this? And I actually think it's basically an autism meter. Like the patterns of motion are only meaningful if you have, a certain type of neurology. Whether that state is permanent in the case of the autistic person, or temporarily induced in the case of the psychedelic adventurer, that seems to be my audience. A weird group of people. Can you imagine that in a room, a bunch of autistic people and a bunch of people tripping? Like, I imagine they get along pretty well. Well, thanks for coming in and chatting. It's actually a strange experience for me. I also realized I got myself into this freaking 12-hour mission. Okay, I'm going to look at it now. I'm going to see. How much time do I have left? 3 weeks? Actually, they started me with 4 weeks. And in my head, I'm like, man, they probably only give me like 24 hours to complete this or something. I just don't like logging out in like deep space, but it's like I don't think there's going to be another option here. Yeah, I kind of think in my mind I have this distinction between autistic people and what I call socialistic people. Not socialistic people, but I think there's a thing at the other end of the spectrum. And I think those people have zero connection to nature, and you can kind of tell by the way they act socially. It's like, have you never lived in the actual real world where, stuff happens? Oh, that's awesome, but don't expect a whole lot of... Slayer in the chat said, also, dude, you're cool. I'm telling my friends about you. And I appreciate that, but don't expect a warm response. Like, I would say if you know some people who kind of get fixated on like patterns and motion, that's a good person. If you have someone who likes to talk a lot and, has no interest in art, they're probably going to hate it. It's just, I'm actually, there's a psychologist. And I cannot believe I'm forgetting his name right now. He was on Joe Rogan. He wrote a book called The Social Leap, and emailed him a while back. And I was actually chatting with him recently. Like, I think by because of the nature of how my art's created, it has the novelty effect of, splitting the population, by autism. And he actually gave me some resources. Like if if you get enough traffic, I can, start doing some actual like surveys of people and seeing like, maybe I did accidentally make something. When I in like the late 80s, when it might have been 1990, I borrowed a neighbor's 3-component video camera to make a video for health class because dyslexia, and like I could just make a video and get a grade. And I accidentally pointed it at the TV back then, and it was like there was no computer generated graphics back then. And the TV is like an old, like fully analog CRT TV with a fully analog camera pointed at it. It's just explosive in a way that you can't even really do with computer generated graphics. And that stuck with me, but then, life happened, girls existed and life moved on, and I stumbled across it a couple other times. And then I'm like, I think this is so cool. I'm going to try to do something unique on YouTube. And so I've spent about 2.5, almost 3 years now, just trying to like perfect an artistic medium that nobody else is using. Slayer also said, you don't give yourself enough credit. Well, it's a balance between, thinking I'm the hottest shit and then, having some fun at my expense to keep my ego from getting out of control. It's like, you can like yourself and think you're awesome, but you also better be giving yourself shit pretty often or you're going to turn into an asshole. But I think, unless you had another question, I'm gonna pop out of here now. Okay, I guess I lied. I didn't make it to 200, but I'm in the range now where I'm about to probably do something stupid and get. Dude, thanks, man. I gotta actually have to click on the window over here so I can see the rest of that. Man, no homo, but your channel and creative process are fascinating to me. Well, I appreciate that, and that's the other thing. It's just like don't give up, don't get better, and you'll do amazing things. It's just, and it's not even like I'm promising. It's like, no, that's actually what has to happen. If you don't get better and you keep trying, there's no option but success. And that seems like a good place to end the stream. Thanks for all your comments, Slayer. This is Elite Dangerous and me rambling. You all have a great day.